Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungee here on the Voice Wrestling Podcasting Network. Ow! Fred, I'm going to have to take an ambulance. I got to leave. You're going to have to take over the show. We're going to have to find a new co-host for the day.
Okay. Lord. I'm Fred. We are doing bits because apparently AEW is now a bits promotion, I guess. Tyler, before we get into the show, I'm going to do a plug for us real quick. In the near future, I mentioned this on the last episode, of course, at the very tail end, because I'm good at this. We're going to be talking with Dave Meltzer, doing a conversation about the Observer Hall of Fame, and also doing a mailbag segment as well. So if you'd like to send him a question about the history of wrestling, you can do so by emailing us at hungeepod, that's HUNGEEPOD, at gmail.com, or alternatively, you can drop the question in our server, or our channel, I should say, on the Voices of Wrestling Discord server. Just look for The Good, The Bad, and The Hungee under the VOW Podcast Network. Don't do fantasy booking questions. Those are dumb. But, I'm looking forward to that. Unlike, looking forward to talking about some of the matches on AEW Full Gear. Look at that transition. That was on November 18th, Saturday, 2 days ago, as we record this. Tyler.
Don't worry, Fred. I am back. I would never let these listeners down. I am their scumbag.
Well, as long as we have a scumbag, what else could we need? Tyler, what a show in so many different meanings of that phrase.
I was very upset I had to buy the show because I have this way of streaming things, and the stream, there were two options. Neither of them were working. And I'm like, oh, crap. Now I have to buy this show. And then the show happened, and it was like, what in the world?
At least you put your money where your mouth is.
I did. And, we're going to talk about Mr. Tony Khan. And you know what? Let's just start there.
Okay.
Because
I just read an article about this.
And I had one drop on Sunday talking about it. I'm going to pull up the article, Fred, because I think that this is really important. Tony Khan at the beginning of All Elite Wrestling. And if you listen to my show a couple weeks ago where I buried the living hell out of Dynamite doing a solo episode, you would know and have heard this quote. So he said this in his media tour leading up to the first Double or Nothing. Wrestling fans have wanted and needed something different, authentic, and better for far too long. AEW is answering the call. AEW is about more than wrestling. It's about a movement fueled by wrestling fans who have been underserved and perhaps even disappointed by what the industry has produced in recent years. Tony Khan has become that guy. He has become the guy that he built a promotion to give an alternative to. As a booker and a presenter of professional wrestling, Tony Khan has become Vince McMahon. And it's incredibly frustrating and disheartening. And then he had the gall, the absolute fucking gall, Fred, to say this, which got us both really fired up. If people want to see a sports-based presentation in every match, there's 33 matches of the Continental Classic, so get ready. Strap in every Wednesday and Saturday. The same people who don't want to see any outside interference, I'm not bullshitting, I'm dead serious. If you don't want to see any outside interference, if you want to see straight wrestling as its very best in a great field, then put your money where your fucking mouth is. Tony, we've been putting our money where our fucking mouths are since you started the promotion. We have been supporting this. There have been people who have been traveling to every pay-per-view, One of our own at Voice of Wrestling, Adam Berger, I believe has been to he went to 5 straight pay-per-views and he flew to every single one of them. Almost every year we have a get-together in Chicago as a site and we get a suite for All Out. We've gotten suites for Forbidden Door. And you want to tell us, the people, we've been extra critical because we care and we love this promotion. You want to have the gall to look at us straight in the face with a dead serious expression and tell us to put our money where our fucking mouths are. Dude, what have we been doing the last 4 years? You absolute bozo. We've been doing everything that you've been saying. Here's the thing. You have changed the product in the last 8 months. You have brought in people who are more WWE brand. The exact promotion that you created this to be an alternative to. And you have let them infiltrate the booking with those practices. And that's why we're pissed. Because the heart of what AEW was, how you built this company, is gone. Yes, there's some remnants. You had a good pay-per-view. You had a Texas Deathmatch. That was fucking professional wrestling. And then you present us with MJF doing a spoof of 1980s Hulk Hogan that wasn't even good. If you would take out the entire storyline and you just have the match on itself was fine. All the bullshit leading up to it has led to the backlash. You lost the plot. And I don't think you're ever getting it back. Because it seems like this is what you actually think professional wrestling is. And god damn it, is it disheartening.
Yeah, I can't really add too much to that. I thought that quote, "Put your money where your mouth is grotesque on multiple levels. First of all, it's a billionaire yelling at people with a fraction of his net worth, and a real small fraction of his net worth for not spending enough money on his shit. If you're running a business, then you sell stuff to people, then you better make sure your people want to buy your shit. That's kind of the deal. That's how business works on its most basic level. And if people aren't buying what you're selling, then I would argue that you should examine what you're selling and determine what they want instead. But I guess Tony Khan's just built different. I actually just finished writing an article shortly before the show today about the business aspect of that statement. You kind of tackled the fan aspect, and I thought you did so very well, both in the article and just now. I think it's very ballsy isn't the right word, because that indicates to me something at least kind of positive. So I guess just stupid. I think it's just kind of stupid to do a rant about how fans are, need to put their money where their mouths are, when you have rather openly adjusted your the approach of your product, at least in the main event scene, which is always really what drives the business of any wrestling company, primarily. And to do that and and then be upset that people aren't giving you money because you kind of changed a central aspect of your business. It'd be like the CEO of Coke back in the 80s, when they did New Coke, getting on whatever platform he could back then and berating Coke drinkers for not liking the new soda. And what are we doing here? I understand the instinct that that a more sports entertainment approach to professional wrestling, a more WWE, theoretically could draw you more business, because they have for such a long time been the largest professional wrestling business in North America. And so you want to kind of appeal to those fans too. And I think it's also a reaction to these weirdos on Twitter, just the randos that have no stake in your business, constantly playing the AEW doesn't tell stories card, which is kind of, if you actually watch AEW, you realize that's not the case. But what they want is just WWE with AEW window dressing. And MJF is doing his damnedest to give that to everybody. And, Tony Khan is obviously on board with it because he's letting it go on the show. And what have we had happen, Tyler, in terms of business for AEW? Because really, look, if you lose one fan, but you gain two, you do that on a large enough scale, you've done the right thing. You're making money. WrestleNomics just did a study, released one, and we talked about this on the last show, but I'm going to bring it up again because this is kind of important to all this. They just did a year over year for the key performance indicators we have for AEW. The overall viewership of Dynamite year over year from this quarter 3 of this year to quarter 3 of last year, has dropped by 11%. The year over year for the overall TV ratings for Rampage year over year dropped 20%. TBS and TNT originals overall have risen 3% in spite of those AEW drops. Well, what about the key demo? It's really the key demo that drives the value of TV shows like AEW. Well, year over year they're down 14%. What about Rampage? Rampage is down year over year 19%. What about TBS and TNT? Maybe a bunch of younger people have just collectively stopped watching TBS and TNT's originals. That's down 2%. AEW is falling at a much steeper rate than the overall TV station. What about tickets, Tyler? What about tickets? Let's talk about tickets, buddy. So ticket distribution for the average Dynamite year over year, that's down 4% too. So every metric that we have is falling off for AEW. But what's also concerning to me about Tony Khan's statement is not so much, well, it is the most offensive part and most ridiculous part was him yelling about how people need to put their money where their mouths are when addressing his own fans, his own customer base. But secondly, is that his entire statement centering around that, it wasn't talking about people not, buying into, these storylines, the brochacho line, if you will, or Timeless Tony Storm, the two most aggressively sports entertainment storylines in AEW at this point in time. It's that he just yelled about people expecting no interference in their matches. Interference has been part of AEW since the beginning. Have people complain about that to some extent? Yeah, sure. But not nearly as much and not as recently as the sports entertainment aspects. The AEW fans have, a large chunk of them have been put off by MJF and Adam Cole and all that stuff. But Tony's up there yelling about, interference finishes. All right, buddy. That's kind of missing the forest for the trees. And MJF's favorite thing to talk about is ice cream flavors and how it's important to have all these different flavors. And he's trying to present a new flavor, but doesn't seem to address the fact that when he started presenting this new flavor with his main event mega push over the past half year at this point, ratings have gone down, attendance has gone down, heat has gone down. I don't know. I think it's great to present different flavors of ice cream, but if the crowd's telling you, if your fan base, your customer base is telling you that they don't like the ice cream flavor, maybe it's just me, but I'd listen to them.
You like that dramatic long pause? Because I'd listen to him too. And
the Joe Lanza special.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes you got to take from the best. But the big thing with the criticism that he should be listening to now, he should realize where the criticism is now coming from. It was from your biggest supporters, the people who believed in you the most, the people who praised the hell out of your product. They were the genesis of us making our own show about the company, Fred. Voices of Wrestling absolutely was a flag bearer for AEW, and not in a bad way, in a this is professional wrestling way, and it deserves this praise. Well, guess what? Now it deserves the same amount of criticism. And understanding and being able to parse it out, and being able to see, hey, we're criticizing this product now. Maybe you should understand why we're criticizing this product. The why behind the criticism means more than the criticism itself. Context is king. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Eric Bischoff, but he's right. Context is king, and that can go across multiple mediums and platforms. If you don't have context, what does it matter? You have to understand the context behind something. We're criticizing the product because it deserves it, because we care about it, because we want it to thrive and be successful. You can't just sit in a room with a bunch of yes men. You're going to create a bunch of shit. And right now, this company is trending a lot more towards shit than it is like gold. It's the gall, the arrogance, the misunderstanding, and the gotten-to-ness of Tony Khan in that presser. It's just awful stuff. Like, we could beat this drum, and we probably will continue to beat this drum throughout the rest of the show, but we have a pay-per-view to cover, Fred. We have a pay-per-view to cover.
We sure do.
And I have to ask you, the old Joe Lanza gimmick, did you watch the pre-show?
Well, Tyler, I did. In fact, I reviewed it for voicesofwrestling.com. Yeah, I watched I skipped the first half hour of the pre-show because I don't need to watch that shit, which is just the WWE-ish talking head stuff. Interesting. Anyway, nevertheless, I thought the pre-show was fine. We definitely didn't have any really strong matches on it. I didn't even love the Eddie Kingston match, which for me is something. I am something of an Eddie Kingston mark at this point in my life. But I thought his match with Jay Lethal was just fine. I liked the Buddy Matthews Claudio match. I went 3 3/4 on that. It's easily the best match of the pre-show. And then, we had the Ring of Honor World Tag match. And shocker of shockers, I didn't think it was particularly special.
Yeah. I liked Kingston and Lethal. I thought it was everything it should have been. Claudio, Buddy, they have a better match in them, but it was a nice little treat for a pre-show. Nothing wrong with that. And then, the tag match, it existed. God, you remember when pre-shows used to be fun when you got Yoshinobu Kanemaru teaming with Despy? Oh, give me that. Like,
they used to very, very much have we're selling this pay-per-view on the fact that we're giving you a great match, and you're going to see more of that if you watch our pay-per-view. And now it's kind of, we're going to give you 3, ranging from okay to pretty good matches, and then have Renee and RJ City tell you that you'll get more.
Eddie Kingston, Jun Akiyama.
Yep.
That's a pre-show match. Like, I'm okay with how they structured this pre-show. I thought it was nice. They did a half hour just on YouTube, the talking head stuff. Then they had 3 matches with some talking head stuff. I thought this the last hour of the pre-show was structured very well. And I think it's a good blend because you want to tell people, hey, what you have coming on the pre-show, but you're also having matches to try and sell the pre-show. I thought it was a good blend of it. And if they do 3 matches and a little bit of the talking stuff, I think it's great. But the best talking was Eddie Kingston calling Stokely Hathaway a bald-headed bitch.
Yeah, he it's the gift that keeps giving. Eddie Kingston is great at these little 45-second pre-show promos that don't particularly build to anything but are just entertaining. So gotta love it.
All right, let's start with the main card.
All right.
We have to finish with what happened at the end of the pre-show.
Yeah, let's talk about that because that's really the big story of this show. So
whoever thought this was a good idea and didn't think the logic gaps, and you know what? I'm not going to bury Will Washington. But what are you having Will Washington do that he's not doing the job that you hired him for? And that's why I don't want to bury Will. But you hired Will to fill these gaps, to make sure that things were cohesive, to make sure that the logic was sound. Nothing about this was sound. You have MJF go off in an ambulance. First off, they attack his knee. Then they attack his ankle. And he comes back with a taped up quad.
Yes.
Okay, there's that. 2, Adam Cole cannot wrestle in the tag match, but he can wrestle for the world title later on. Doesn't make any sense. 3, this is an interim title promotion. Why don't they just make it that have him Jay White wrestle somebody else for the interim title? They've done it before. Why can't they do it again? Plus, why wouldn't Samoa Joe be chomping at the bit to wrestle to defend the world title? Because guess what? Samoa Joe doesn't get a title shot unless MJF's the champion.
Samoa Joe should have been like doing everything in his power to get MJF in that ring and with a win. And him not being involved in the main event at all was baffling with the story they're telling.
And then you had MJF yelling from the ambulance to Adam, don't let them take my title. Bitch, you didn't give a shit about the title at all.
Yeah.
This is just infuriating. This company used to be good.
The problem with your sports entertainment storylines is they rapidly get more complicated as you add these little layers. And the problem with that is if you don't add those layers, when you add those layers, if you don't have any care with them, then the whole thing just collapses. And that's what happened on this night. And I think a lot of fans were very unhappy with that aspect of things. This doesn't make it, the psychology of this, and just the flow of the story is nonsensical at this point. And also, additionally, we've been building for weeks that the devil or whoever is in the devil mask, the devil, is going to do something, right? And then they do nothing. They don't show up. There's no tease. There's absolutely no progression with this. That's part of the storyline. What's the point? What are we doing here? I don't know. I just genuinely do not know.
Odie's staring at me like, Dad, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? And I don't know. But I don't know. It's a tough one. All right, well, let's get to the main card. And you know what? We've already been talking about, let's talk about the main event. The in-ring work as a whole, I thought was acceptable. The stuff and the big bumps MJF was willing to take, and apparently it came out, I think today, that he had to get his hip put back into place after the match.
Yep, that's a report.
The overall work in the match I thought was good. I thought they both worked really hard. The spots were clean. But why wasn't Jay White trying to go after the leg? Why wasn't that the entire focus of the match?
It was part of it, but not the entire focus. And
it should have been the only focus. It should have been a leg match.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I gave this 2.5 stars because everything surrounding the match, outside of, hey, they're wrestling, was a bunch of shit. It sucked. And then MJF just overcomes the entire Gun Club to win the title. Why should anybody take them seriously moving forward? Like, it's so frustrating.
I think that the criticism, not just from you, but of people saying that he killed the Guns, I think is slightly overblown. In the sense that, like, they just ran in the match. They each took a ring shot and then sold. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I can't really be mad about that. I think it's much more damning that MJF's sell job after the leg attack earlier in the night, was just all over the place and didn't make sense as a story. I think that's far worse. The Guns, coming in like stooges, eating, punches from MJF and instantly dying. Yeah. I can't, like, in the realm of things that really bother me about this storyline and this match, I can't really put that in the top 10. I thought this match was very well worked. I will give them credit for that. I thought it was just in a vacuum a good match. I thought the crowd got into it quite a bit, and I think the crowd does care. They are invested in MJF as a babyface to some extent. I think it'd be hard to really conclude otherwise, given the reactions in during the match where he's making his comebacks. I think he had to work really hard for that, and I'm not talking about the elbow drop, to the floor or the cutter to the floor. I'm talking about the constant begging and calling for support. He worked very hard to get that support in the match. I just think that he's the storyline is has, like you said, lost the plot. And if you listen to Joe Lanza reported on the post pay-per-view review show that he has now sketched out the storyline to run through May. Another 6 months of brochacho-ness. I don't want 6 more months of this shit. This ain't working. And it's funny because it seems like the AEW attitude, not just from MGF, but Tony Khan right now, is to double down and double down more anytime there's a criticism or a shortcoming of the storyline. And are you familiar, Tyler, with the sunk cost fallacy?
Yeah, but I always get confused, like in my own headcanon with it, because I think I have some modicum of dyslexia. Like every so often I'll hit F instead of J, like on the keyboard, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. Yeah. And I always get this confused. So explain it.
Yeah, basically the sunk cost fallacy is from economics, and it can really be summarized as throwing good money after bad. So say, for example, let's just theoretically do this, Tyler. Let's say you own a wrestling company, WEA, let's call it. You're an upstart, and you want a video game. So you develop a video game, and then you release it, and the reception is kind of middling on it. A sunk cost fallacy would be after you put that out and see it's a failure and kind of conclude that there's not really a way for it to be a real financial success, would be to throw millions and millions more money, millions and millions more dollars, I should say, of money down the hole at it to try to improve it and drag it up to respectability, but without a real financial benefit from that. That would be a great example of the sunk cost fallacy, this completely theoretical scenario. Another example, I don't know, would be like if you're doing a storyline in the main event of your promotion and it's running off your customers, and you to go, hey, we're going to do more of this for 6 more months, and run off more customers and not change anything to try to draw those customers back. That would be a sunk cost.
Okay. I'm still going to get it wrong, but I get it.
No, it's all right.
We talk about sunk cost fallacy a lot with the NFL draft and stuff, but man, this company's gonna drive me up a wall. And I already cover the Vikings for a living. that already drives me up a wall. I don't know if you saw the game last night.
Oh no, I'm abstaining. I have figured out I figured out where I am on the sunk cost fallacy with the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm not shoving my hand back into that bear trap for the 30th time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a real disappointment, on top of what was mostly, not entirely, but mostly a great show. Just some real disappointing creative, and I do not think it's going to get any better anytime soon. And they're really just kind of fundamentally changing what this promotion is. And, it's Burger King, we'll go back to the Challenger brand. Burger King doesn't sell Big Macs. They sell their own take on that kind of signature burger, for a drive-through fast food restaurant. But they don't try to recreate the Big Mac.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've ever had a Big Mac.
It's It's a McDonald's burger.
Yeah, I've had plenty of McDonald's burgers in my life. So let's move on to the first. Let's go now that we've talked about the main event and we've already spent a half hour yelling about this stupid company. Let's talk about some of the good, and let's go to the opening match, which was the 6-man tag between what was it? The Prophecy?
No, the Patriarchy.
The Patriarchy. One, it's a phenomenal name.
Great name.
Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne versus Adam Copeland, Sting, and Darby Allin. Now, I will say, I love the new video on the Jumbotron leading up to Christian Cage coming out of the tunnel, because it had a bunch of like little sayings on it. I don't remember a damn one of them, but that was like basically different ways of saying he's the best. It was phenomenal.
It's the continuation of Christian Cage. His Tron entrance video is great.
Mm-hmm. And then you had this really made me mad, Fred. They came out to Adam Copeland's music. Sting is retiring. Let Sting have his own. But I will give them credit. It was dope as hell that Edge had half of his pace faded, the opposite half of Darby's. And the entrance was really cool. Like, because Sting was all fired up. He and Edge were running around. And yeah, it was cool. And then the match happened, and Christian Cage is a cowardly bitch. And it was awesome. He refused to engage at all with Adam Copeland. And then when Copeland literally chased him out of the ring, and Christian Cage just left Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne to basically die. And spear, coffin drop, done. And then they give Copeland or Darby picks up the mic and says, "This is Sting's last time fucking wrestling in California." And they gave him like a couple minutes. And I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah, it was a nice ovation.
All right. Second match, I believe, was Orange Cassidy.
What was your rating on that one?
Oh, I went 3.5.
I went 3.5 too. Okay. Well, that was a great conversation we just had about that story.
Yeah, great stuff. Second match, Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy wins after like 5 not Superman punches, orange punches, and then beach break. This felt like a Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match. And I don't mean that as an insult, because to put Brock away, Roman would have to hit like multiple Superman punches and get a spear. And that's exactly how Orange Cassidy beat Jon Moxley. I went 4.25 plus on this. I thought it was very good. And I think the course correction wasn't getting the belt off of Phoenix. It was like you get it back on Orange Cassidy so you can run this match back. This felt like the plan all along. This felt like a defining win for Orange Cassidy. Maybe they'll do a third match. And you know what? It's a third match where I think the 50-50 booking, like, it's not a criticism because of how they've gone about it, how they've maneuvered through the first 2 matches, and how they got there. I think doing a third match makes some sense if you get some cohesiveness behind it. I just thought this was great. Orange Cassidy had like more of an evil side to him, violent side, and Moxley was loving it. And I love the little touch that John Hernandez brought up in our office Slack, where a lot of times wrestlers will stare at the ref and use that to kick out. No, he stared at the ref and didn't kick out. Just a little touch. And I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome.
I thought this was a very fun match. I liked it a lot. And I also went 4.25 on it. I just to sidetrack here a little bit, I just saw breaking news that Juice Robinson is going to be out for a bit because he's going to have back surgery.
Damn shame.
According to Fightful's Select, he's had a great run over the start of the Bullet Club Gold.
But Fred, will they have him on television with his injury?
I'm
need
dubious.
to know.
dubious on that, unfortunately. But it is not expected to be an extremely drawn out absence. So there's that. Hoping the best for him to get better soon. I think he's done a great job as Jay White's lackey. Yeah, I like this match a lot. I thought it was a reasonably it wasn't as good as their last pay-per-view match, but it was a nice effort to follow it up, and I thought it was easily a highlight match of the show.
Yeah, great stuff. Then you had at the end a little bit of a beatdown on Orange Cassidy, and then you had Best Friends come out. It feels like that this feud between Blackpool Combat Club and the Best Friends universe isn't done, and I'm intrigued to kind of see where this goes. But now we have to talk about some more sports entertainment, Fred.
Yes.
Timeless Tony Storm defeats Hikaru Shida to win the AEW Women's World Championship. The in-ring work was fine.
Were you not sports entertained?
God.
I thought that they did about as good of a job as they could have to incorporate the gimmick into the match. I thought that the spots with the shoes were fine. I'm not exactly like hooting and hollering over here over them, but I thought they were all right. I think the far more concerning aspect of this match, and this is why I think it was a failure, was when they basically blew every big spot down the finishing stretch. And I think that completely I think that's a complete
oh my God.
Failure. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. But an absolute failure on the match.
I want to give Hikaru Shida credit. She tried. She worked really hard to get this thing over in the building. It just wasn't. The efforts to win by cheating from Tony Storm ended up being really pathetic. And I feel bad because essentially what they ended up doing was she got this steel plate, put it on her butt, and then used the hip attack to go attack the corner. Pretty smart, right? Like that's a really clever way to win, because if they don't see it, it's like what is Aubrey Edwards going to do? Touch Tony Storm's butt? No, like it's unnoticeable. Problem was because of her gear and how look, Tony Storm has a very muscular behind. She obviously does squats. And that's not sexualizing. This is just, we're talking about an athlete's physique. And when you have a very muscular butt, when you have something there, it's going to move. And because the butt is moving, that piece is going to move. And then all of a sudden, it's like 2/3 out of her trunks, and she's like shoving it back up, therefore making everybody just look like an idiot. And it was so sloppy and so poorly done that everybody just looks like a bozo coming out of this. There's no coming back. This sucked. And I have no problem with Toni Storm winning the title. I think the Mariah May stuff could end up being a really good catapult for her career. I mean, it worked for Mickie James. Mickie James is still a really good professional wrestler in today's space. But man, this is just ever so frustrating. Like, I gave this 2 stars. The finish completely ruined any modicum of this actually being a good match, but at least it was in color.
Yeah, I was kind of horrified that it would also be black and white. I thought the work in this was decent, not great, but decent. It was probably at like a 3-ish star level until basically the entire finish fell apart. We just had massive logic gaps here, and you can try something different, and if it doesn't work, that's okay. You can do that every once in a while. I'm not even really mad about it. It was just like, it's you messed up every aspect of it, from Luther's not having his or messing up the cane shot catch, to Audrey calling calling the match and just looking directly at the pan sticking out of Tony Storm's trunks and doing nothing. But yeah, all that stuff happened, and I think it really ruined the match and made it bad. So I went 1.5 stars on it. Just a bummer of a, pardon the pun, bummer of a match.
Yeah, bummer is honestly a good way to kind of phrase it. Just a bummer. Let's talk about the next match on the card, which was the TBS title. And
no.
Oh no,
tag.
it wasn't.
The ladder. It was the ladder tag.
Ladder match. My brain is absolutely fried.
It's okay.
Ricky Starks and Big Bill defeated. Yeah, they're so good. Kings of the Black Throne, FTR, and La Facción Ingobernables. Look, this was awesome. The Malachi Black spot early in the match where he has the ladder standing upright against the ropes, and he uses the ropes as like a slingshot to fling the ladder forward. I've never seen that in a ladder match before.
That was awesome. I love that spot.
This was a great match. There was high spots. There was insanity. It was awesome. And I'll give credit for this to Rich and Joe, who said it on the flagship Patreon instant reaction to Full Gear, because I had never noticed this before. Ricky Starks doesn't take ladder bumps.
He's not touching that thing, buddy. Not until he climbs it at the end.
What a worker. Good for him. He's like, I don't need to do this shit. Good for him. And they remain tag team champions. I'm very intrigued to kind of see where the tag team division goes from here. I would love to see a Big Bill Brody King singles match. I think that could be freaking great.
Yeah.
Two big men who work like wrestlers that just happen to be big. They don't work like big men. They don't work like Paul White. No, they work like wrestlers that are just big dudes. And that is when you can have something special. And I love it. I want to see more of this. I gave this, I can't remember. It was either 4.25 or 4.5. Awesome. I love this match.
I also really enjoyed this match. I know there's some people, Rich Creech, prominently, that are just burnt out on spot fests like this. I thought this owned though. I thought this was a really great one. I went 4.5 stars on it. The spot you mentioned with the slingshot of the ladder off the ropes was awesome. Also, Brody King hitting the Gonzo bomb on Dralistico on the ladder and then getting splashed through the ladder. These were all crazy spots, and I loved them all.
Oh, it was great.
And Roosh looked like a superstar in this match. Man, I thought you could argue that he was the best worker in there, and that's not a light thing to say. I was very impressed with his performance, and I don't know. I thought this was a lot of fun, and I really liked it, and I thought everybody put on a great effort.
Yeah, it was awesome.
As my point is so popular that the crowd goes wild.
Yeah, I had something pop up on my phone, and I didn't realize that my phone wasn't muted. Then it's a highlighted from the Grey Cup last night, which Montreal ended up pulling it out over Winnipeg. So Winnipeg has been in the last 4 Grey Cups, and they're on 2-2.
Nice.
I know it's impressive enough to make it to 4 in a row. I mean, it's a 10-team league, but still, it's not easy to play all these teams consistently and be able to, make it happen. Plus, it was a neutral site. It was played in Hamilton, which is, Quebec is not in Ontario, and neither is Winnipeg. So, yeah, it was a good game, but nobody cares about that. Now we can talk about the 3-way match. Julia Hart wins the TBS title over Sky Blue and Chris Statlander. Statlander hits that pile driver gimmick on Sky Blue, and Julia Hart whacks Statlander in the back of the neck and then gets the pin, steals it, but does it with a move and doesn't just pick her up and throw her off. I appreciated that little touch. I thought this was good. Sky Blue actually looked like she cared a little bit for once. which is a slight improvement because she almost never looks like she cares. I still don't understand what metrics they have that said that she deserves this big push, but she's getting it, and there's really nothing we can do about it.
We sure are using her all the time, man.
Julia Hart is turned into a good wrestler.
Yeah, I think Julia Hart's pretty darn good, and Chris Statlander is pretty good too. They had a great match at Wrestle Dream, I think it was, not too long ago. And frankly, if this match is set up for a rematch between those two, I'd be perfectly happy with that. I think Sky Blue is just kind of, yeah. I think she just is not it right now. You know, maybe she'll get there. She's quite young, but we'll see. I can't really point to really any aspect of her game that I think is strong. You know, I can't say like, oh, she's a good worker or she's good on the mic or has star presence or any of these things. She's just kind of there. And a lot of the time she looks kind of disinterested in doing it, which is, I know that's become like a small talking point over the past week, but it's, you know, it's once I thought about it, you know, it's kind of true from what I can recall. And it's wild that, you know, that's the case for a up and comer really on national TV, not like some vet that's been around for 15 years and maybe is burnt out on their lack of a push or something. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Maybe that's just how she, you know, that's just how she is. I'm not really necessarily saying like she needs to be pumping her fist all the time and going, come on, baby, or something like that. But, yeah, it's weird. Anyways, 2 3/4 on this one. It was fine. They could definitely do better. Two of them could definitely do better.
Yeah. I thought overall it was good. I think I went 3 1/4. Like,
That's fair. That's fair.
It was a good match.
Yeah.
None of the work was offensive, but it wasn't over the top great. So I think 3 1/4 is fair.
Yeah.
All right.
Will Ospreay.
Bruv.
I'm coming. No, I'm not coming just yet, bruv.
Listen,
that's when
I love it.
That's when he's edging.
Da 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 da. Hey, da 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 da.
I am very happy he's coming to AEW because the alternative was WWE, and you know, even if I don't like what WWE does on a week-to-week basis, the problem with that would be that we'd have him doing a match like what he can really do at most once every month. And he'd also probably have some limiters put on him. They'd be like, well, you can't do X, Y, and Z here. That's just not how we work. And it just wouldn't be the authentic Will Ospreay experience. But he's coming in AEW, and like I think there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical of AEW right now, in terms of their creative. And I think that I'm happy he's coming in. I just hope to God that it's not you know, sports entertainmentified somehow, you know, I guess without a lack of a better term of putting it. I hope he's put in good creative spots and is pushed as a major star. I hope there's no like initial Jay White period where he was just like bumming around in the mid card doing nothing. If you remember when he first came in, I hope that Ospreay comes in and it's just like instant main eventer because that's the only way to use him.
Well, I don't think it was a mistake that Ospreay says he wants to main event Wembley. That's not a mistake. And he should win the title at Wembley. And he should not win it from MJF. He should win it from somebody who's deserving of holding that belt right now. MJF's not. He's not the top star in the company. He's not the top draw in the company. He's in the company. That's it. Yep. He's in the company.
It'll be, I think this is like the biggest story over the next year is how AEW is going to use Ospreay. I think that could really actually define the long-term prospects of the company. Not really in like a will they close way. I don't want to make it sound like that, but like just what the direction of the company is going to be. And I think that's kind of fascinating, even if some of the possible results are not good, you know, so.
Yeah. Bruv. bruv. It's to me that's cartoonish and it's annoying, bruv. Bruv. I'm just gonna pop you with that throughout the rest of the time we do this.
If
show.
he starts wearing like tracksuits and goes full like stereotypical chav, then I'll have a real issue. But as it is, it's just just him saying bruv.
Have you ever seen the movie Green Street Hooligans?
I have not. In fact, I don't think I've heard of it before.
I don't even know if it's on any streaming platform. I saw it at a fraternity that I was going to pledge, but it didn't end up working out because I didn't get into school. But it's got Elijah Wood, and it's about like English street gang. It's a pretty good movie. I would recommend it.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind him do like a kind of like tough character like that. I could see that working. But yeah, whatever you do, just make Ospreay look like a bronze god because he is. And maybe Omega Ospreay, like I would get Omega the belt and then let him lose it to Ospreay at Wembley. That'll put 80,000 back in that building.
Yeah.
I don't even care if it's the third match. You would be at that point over a year removed from the last match. And remember, Omega Okada, they were 10 months removed from their G1 match when Omega beat Okada at Dominion. You can do it. You can do it. All right. But now we have to talk about what is in the conversation for the greatest match I've ever seen. I don't give a shit about the Brian Cage interference spot.
I don't either. I'm glad we're on the same page with that. We'll talk about it when we get to it.
Strickland defeated Hangman Adam Page in a Texas Deathmatch. Oh my God. It started off Swerve like not giving a flying fuck about Prince Nana's dance. Walking down to the ring, just looking like $1 million, looking confident as all hell. And Adam Page sprints at him, comes out of nowhere and starts beating the ever-living piss out of him. He wants his hands on him so bad. He attacked him at Wrestling Revolver the night before, and then he goes at him hard. This was just great. It starts off with a bang, and then he brings out a staple gun. It I would assume they're using medical staples because when you pull medical staples out, it doesn't really hurt. Or it didn't for me. Maybe my nerves are just so shot that it didn't. But they basically, it's the way to remove them is you get like underneath and then you pull up on both sides and then just kind of pops out. It's I was surprised how easy of a process it was. But yeah, he just staples him, staples a piece of his child's artwork to both cheeks. Oh, and then gets him in like the pec. Gets him in the back, gets him in the shoulder, and then Swerve just grabs it and just starts stapling himself everywhere. Like, no, you can't hurt me. And then he gets Hangman in the forehead. They're both bleeding buckets, and Hangman at one point is drinking Swerve's blood and then spits it straight up. Oh, and apparently he had an Instagram post that I saw. I don't know if it was doctored. I believe it's real, where he's got a picture of him spitting it or drinking it, and he's like, "You're with me forever now." Or something. I think
that's from Paige's Instagram.
Oh, so good. And these guys were brutal. The cinder block, the barbed wire chair, they went hard. And there was great wrestling. It was brutal violence. And then, the Brian Cage spot. Okay, whatever. But Swerve then hangs him with the chain. It wasn't quite as extreme as the Moxley one, but Moxley is also a sick, twisted individual who would take a spot hanging from a chain and dangling his feet. And Hangman couldn't answer the count of 10, and Swerve wins. This was one of the top 5 matches I've ever seen, and it's a non-zero chance that it's the best match I've ever seen. Even better than Omega Ospreay 1 and 2. And I said those are the best I'd ever seen.
I thought this was astonishingly good. I love this. I thought it was so great, just an amazing amount of carnage, and it wasn't just guys there's a difference between this and like your low level death match that just doesn't get it right. And this worked really well, I thought. And I loved it. I thought it was shockingly brutal. I thought it was really entertaining. And this is typically not my style of match, but these two pulled it off to perfection. And I think you got to give them a whole lot of credit for that. I went 5 3/4 stars. I can only say it's like it's probably my number 2 match on the year, I think, behind Omega Ospreay 1. But it's close. And it was probably in my top 10 matches of all time. It was just amazing.
Oh, I might actually watch it again today. But I may have to go to the store and get me some energy because I am like, you can see the bags under my eyes. I'm tired. I'm real tired.
Yeah, we got a sleepy Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, not much left on this card though, so we'll get you out of here and you can go get your whatever the hell Ric Flair's energy drink is that you can allegedly buy.
It's Woo.
Yes, that's right.
All right, Golden Jets defeated the Young Bucks. I'm gonna be honest. I'm the outlier here. I didn't like this.
Oh no!
So
Tyler,
and I want to be clear. I didn't think he was bad. I gave it 3 3/4.
Okay.
It never grabbed me. The entire match, I just never felt like they grabbed my attention, and like most Young Bucks matches do, they grab me somehow, and I'm enthralled with what's going to happen next. I never got there, and maybe it was because I could have been distracted and I was dealing with Odie and Eclair, but I never got there, and I don't know what the deal was, but it never hit for me, and I'm okay being an outlier there. I didn't think it was bad, but I was seeing people put up like 4 1/4, 4 1/2. I'm like, man, we're watching different things. Or it was that distraction element I talked about, but it never grabbed me in that way.
Yeah, I thought I'm with you on the first 10 minutes or so. They were put in a really tough position, following up, Swerve and Page. But I think that they kind of worked it that way to like be like, all right, we're going to give you some time to catch your breath and establish some stuff here. But I thought that the last 5 or maybe even 10 minutes, the real extended closing stretch here was fantastic. I really liked the stuff with specifically I think it was Nick that kicked Jericho low and then went to kick Omega, but Omega looked at him and was like, are you seriously going to do that? And then Matt just came up behind him and hit him low from behind. I thought that was a fantastic spot. And then once they all started hitting their big moves, I thought it was done really well. Jericho fit right in, which, considering his age and everything, is very impressive. Obviously, he was the 4th of the 4 workers in there, but still, like being able to perform at that level at in the mid 50s is great. And I mean, the Bucks and Omega are all 3 of them are fantastic workers, and I thought that they had a great closing stretch here. And I also liked their post match with the Young Bucks throwing a fit about losing. And continuing their heel turn. I think they're definitely at their best as heels. And I think, honestly, I think it should be a while before they ever turn face again. Like, I'm talking years. I like this match a lot. I went 4.5 on it, and I thought it was arguably probably the second best match on the show.
Yeah, I'm not with you.
That's good. That's fine.
I will give it another chance because if other people are seeing it, maybe I just need a rewatch.
Yeah, you just like a different flavor of ice cream. That's all right.
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off, Fred. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going to jump through the screen. I'm going to punch you right in the mouth. Oh, different flavor of ice cream. God, what a bullshit analogy that is. Oh, I'm pissed now. God damn it. That's our show. Thank you guys very much for joining us as we get this therapeutic session of a bunch of flavors of bullshit. Because apparently Fred likes to collect excrement from different bowls and try and tell me one's Rocky Road and one's Peppermint Chip. You can find our show on Twitter at goodbadhungee. You can email us at hungeepod@gmail.com if you have any questions for us or Dave Meltzer. You can always find us on the Voice of Wrestling Slack. I'm Tyler. He's Fred. I'm not letting him talk anymore. Goodbye.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collins, and I want to tell you all about my show, the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we do a thorough analysis on the biggest issues and trends within the pro wrestling industry. We talk a lot about pro wrestling media, we talk a lot about fan culture and wrestling's place within general pop culture, and we talk about the broader influences that are shaping the way we discuss and analyze the pro wrestling industry. We've had some of the brightest minds in the pro wrestling intelligentsia on the show, including WrestleNomics host Brandon Thurston, both Rich Craich and Joe Lanza from the Flagship Wrestling Podcast, Trevor Dame from the Through the Years podcast, and a whole lot more. This isn't a show for hot takes. It's not a show recapping the latest episode of television. This is a show focusing on the biggest topics in pro wrestling and doing a deep dive on the real stories behind the surface level analysis you might find elsewhere. The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a try. Thanks.